Hi students, Super Science Hub brought you another video with sample paper 2 to make you more confident and perfect. Before going to start this video on sample paper 2, let me tell you one thing. Sample paper 1 I made under 4 videos. I think you watched those all the things. If you didn't watch yet, go through the links given under description. Yes, we will start sample paper 2. Before going to discuss question and answers, let's have a look on the course structure. You have the 5 units. Under first unit, the first unit is a chemical substances, nature and behavior. Under this, you have all chemistry chapters, 5 chapters. Chapter 1, chemical reactions and equations, acids, bases and salts, metals and non-metals, carbon and its compounds, periodic classification of elements. These 5 chapters are included under Unit 1. This Unit 1 allotted for 26 marks and Unit 2 World of Living. World of Living. What are the chapters are included in the World of Living? Chapter 6, which is the life process, chapter 8, which is the reproduction, and chapter 9 is the heredity. These 3 chapters are included under World of Living. Then allotted 23 marks. Unit 3 is natural phenomena, chapter 10 and chapter 11. Under 11 only you have the refraction of light when light passes through prism. Okay, these 2 chapters are allotted 12 marks. Next, Unit 4, electric current. Electric current. Under this, chapters 12, chapter 13, electricity, electric current and magnetic effects of electric current. These 2 chapters are allotted for 13 marks. Next, Unit 5 is natural resources. Under this chapter number 15th we have, that is our environment, only 5 marks. This is the overall course structure. We have that 80 marks for your annual examination. 20 is internal assessment, what you have done in the school, or like assignment and the practical work and internal exams. Okay, and the grand total will be 100. Then we'll move to the chapter wise marks allotment. Under chemistry, we have the 5 chapters. Chapter 1 allotted 3 to 4 marks, and 2, 5 to 7 marks, 3, 3 to 5 marks, chapter 4, 3 to 4 marks, chapter 5, 4 to 7 marks. Total 26 will be. Okay, chemistry, from chemistry, you are going to get 26 marks. Next one is biology. We have 4 chapters, life processes, chapter 6, 10 to 12, maximum marks. And the 8th chapter, 6 to 7 marks, 9th, 5 to 6 marks, 15th, 4 to 5 marks. Total 28 marks from biology. Next, physics. We have 4 chapters and 10th chapter, light reflection and refraction, 8 to 9 marks. 11th chapter, 3 to 4 marks. 12th chapter, 7 to 8 marks. 13th chapter, 6 to 7 marks. Total 26. So here, the chemistry is 26 marks and biology is 28 and physics is 26. So total 28 marks. Okay, now we will move to question and answers. Before that, just you look sample paper pattern, means how your board exam is going to be. Total 36 questions will be divided as 4 sections. Under section A, all are 1 mark questions. Total 32 marks will be 1 to 20 questions, and MCQs. Under this, MCQs, very short answers, assertion reasoning questions and case study questions. Under section B, there will be 6 questions. Each question carries 2 marks. Under section C, 7 questions. Each question carries 3 marks. Under section D, 3 questions. Each question carries 5 marks. Okay, the type already given here. If you need a more detailed explanation about the pattern of the question paper, go through the videos, the previous videos. Okay, and now you see the section A, the first question. Question and answers we will clearly understand. First question is, name the areas in a woody stem through which respiratory exchange of gases takes place. Here, you know that the main gases exchange takes place through stomata. If the small pores present on leaves, those are called as stomata, which are helpful to gaseous exchange or respiration. But here, the lenticels are the small pores which are present on stem. On stem. Okay, these are also helpful for the gaseous exchange. Understood? That's why woody stem will respire with the help of a lenticels. Okay. In woody stem, the bark has lenticels for gaseous exchange. This is the answer. Note it down. Move to the another question, which is the internal choice for this first question. While eating, you are advised not to talk. Why are you advised so? Yes, most of the time we used to hear from our elders, don't talk while you are eating. Yeah, that's exactly correct what they used to advise us. We are advised so because while eating, some food particles might enter the windpipe, which can lead to choking. Yes, you know that epiglottis is one of the flap-like structure which is present between the windpipe and food pipe, which used to divide them, which used to prevent entry of food into the windpipe, entry of food into the windpipe. Same here, if you are talk while you are eating, that flap cannot work properly. That will get open. Then the food particles will enter into the windpipe. That will make difficult to breathe. Okay, that's why we should not talk while eating. Just let me read the answer once. We are advised to because advised so because while eating some food particles, eating food particles might enter the windpipe, which can lead to choking. Understood? Then we'll move to the another question. Question number 2. Yeah. Here is the H plus ion concentration of a solution is 1.0 into 10 raised to minus 5 m. The solution is either acidic, alkali, neutral, or amphoteric. How we know that the solution is acidic or basic or neutral? By the pH value, isn't it? We used to understand by the pH value. If the pH is less than 7, that we know if the pH is less than 7 or the acidic. If the pH is greater than, sorry, one second, here just a mark. Mm. pH is less than 7. pH is less than 7 acidic. pH is greater than 7 alkali. If the pH is equal to 7, that will be neutral. Let's see here what's the pH of this solution. To find the pH, they have given here H plus ion concentration. How to define the pH? We know that pH is equal to negative logarithm of H plus ion concentration. Isn't it? Now we will see how to find a pH of this solution. H plus ion concentration is given as 1.0 into 10 raised to minus 5. Here, this type of numericals easily we can calculate if we know the formulas properly. Log A into B. How you used to write powers and exponents, some formulas like that. Logarithm also have some formulas to easy calculate. Log A into B can write as log A plus log B. Another formula which is going to help you is log A power n is equal to n log A. Okay. Next, two are the values you try to remember which are going to helpful for you. Log 10 value is 1. Log 1 value is 0. If you know these values, you will get a correct answer with this type of questions. Now you see minus log. Here this is like a, this is like a B, A into B. So minus is a common. This is a, for both the quantities it comes, and log 1.0 plus minus log 10 raised to minus 5. Then we will see that log 1 value is 0. Log 1 value is 0. That's why the complete quantity becomes 0. So we will move to the another term. Minus log 10 raised to minus 5. How it is looking? It seems a power n. So minus into minus 5 log 10. Then here minus into minus will be the 5 plus 5 and log 10 value is 1. So what is the pH? pH is 5. If pH is 5, which is a less than 7, so a solution would be acidic in nature. Understood? This is the way how to solve the pH problems and find the nature of the solution. Okay. This type of questions may be asked in 2 marks also. Better to understand and practice. This is the answer. Next, move to the another question. Name 2 chemicals which are responsible for thinning of ozone layer. That the ozone layer is present in stratosphere, which is helpful to protect us from harmful UV radiation. If this type of chemicals are releasing into environment like a chlorofluorocarbons, hydrochlorofluorocarbons, carbon tetrachloride, sometimes you may write another chemicals also like bromo, hydrobromo chlorocarbons, fluorocarbons, either directly bromofluorocarbons, like a different halogen compounds are going to destroy or make a thin layer of ozone. These are the major chemicals. You note it down. These 3 names are going to make our ozone layer thin. Okay. How these type of or harmful gaseous substances are releasing into environment by the human activities, means by using of refrigerators and air conditioners, aerosols. These all are the main sources of CFCs, HCFCs and CCl4. Okay, this is the answer. Try to remember, practice. Go to the another question. Which lens is called as converging lens? Remember, converging lens. Here converging lens is, how the converging lens is? This is a converging lens. This is the principal axis. If we can pass a beam of light through the convex lens, which used to unite all the refracted rays are going to unite at one place, isn't it? That is called as a focus. What you have studied already there. Under convex and concave lens. Remember, convex lens is called as a converging lens because it focuses all the parallel beam of light at its focus, isn't it? This is the focus what we used to write now. This is the converging lens. Okay. Convex lens is also called as converging lens. Move to the next question. 5th one. Choose the amphoteric oxide among the following: Na2O, ZnO, Al2O3, CO2, H2O. Here, what is meant by amphoteric oxide? The oxide which can react both acid and base. That type of oxides are called as amphoteric oxides. Here the capacity of zinc oxide and aluminum oxide, these ZnO and Al2O3 have the capacity or ability to react both acid and also base. That's why ZnO and Al2O3 are amphoteric oxides. Then remaining gases also just I kept within the bracket. That is no need to write for your exam. If they can ask, only for your information I kept in the bracket. Okay, Na2O is a basic, CO2 is a acidic, and H2O is neutral. Got it? Let's move to the another question. An object at a distance of 30 centimeters from a concave mirror gets its image at the same point. The focal length of the mirror is dash. Mirror is actually this is not a 1 m is the mark I mentioned mark of that. Okay, options are given. We have to opt for that. How we know that? You know, to find the focal length or the distance, image distance or the object distance, we have the formula, mirror formula like F is equal. Otherwise, you can go from down also. 1 by V plus 1 by U is equal to 1 by F. Isn't it? We have this formula. Here, to use this formula it will take some time, isn't it? But one for 1 mark, no need to spend that much time. No, better easily to predict the answer by understanding the condition given in the question. Try to understand. Object distance is 30 centimeters, is a concave mirror. Image also formed at the same point. So image distance also will be 30, isn't it? At which case of concave mirror, the distance of object and image will be same. Image will be same. This is the concave mirror, like a center of curvature or radius of curvature, and focus and pole. It is the C, it is the F, and it is the P. Here you have the ray diagrams. In that, the third ray diagram, what is that? When you put a object at on center of curvature, what will happen? What will happen? The image formation also at the same point. The criteria, the condition is given in the same way, no? Same point. So image distance and object distance and image distance will be same. Okay, both will be same, isn't it? Now you see here, image distance and object distance is same and size also same. So both are 30 only. Now you see, focal length, we have the one rule or the formula. You understood that from the magnification of a mirror. And how the focal length will be? Focal length is equal to half of the radius, no? Half of the radius, isn't it? Here, how much is the radius or the radius of curvature is given? 30 centimeters, isn't it? So focal length is equal to, focal length is equal to 30 by 2. So you will get 15. This is the focal length because of half of the center of radius of curvature is nothing but the focal length. So here 15. Now you see, the answer would be either this or this. Now again we have a doubt. How to clarify that? Go to the which mirror is it? Concave mirror. You know that concave mirror gives always negative focal length. So this is wrong and this will be correct one. Remember, while if you are very convenient with a formula to solve, you can go through that. If you are convenient with that quick analytical power you have, quickly you may answer. Okay, try whichever way you are convenient. Understood, children? Now we will move to the another question. This is the internal choice for that previous question. The refractive index of water is 1.33. What will be the speed of light in water? The given value is speed of light in vacuum. That we know, refractive index of any medium is equal to speed of light in a vacuum by speed of light in medium. Here they are asking that speed of the light in medium. Which medium? Of course, given as a water. So Vm is equal to C by refractive index. Just you substitute these two values already given. Then you will get the answer. Okay. See the answer? Isn't it? Speed of light in water is equal to speed of light in vacuum by refractive index of water. Refractive index in water. Refractive index of water. See here the values are 3 into 10 raised to minus 3 into 10 raised to 8, which is the speed of the light, and refractive index 1.33. Then finally we will get the value as 2.26 into 10 raised to 8 meter per second. Units also important, write it properly. Understood? Let's move to the another question. Seventh one. Why carbon and its compounds are used as fuels in most cases? Most cases. Why is so? Because carbon, you know that the carbon produce when carbon react with the oxygen or carbon, hydrogen, it used to produce a lot of energy, Due to that reason, a carbon and also carbon containing compounds are using many cases petrol, kerosene, diesel, coal, coke. How many fuels we have? Even the methane gas, butane gas, LPG gas. Those all are the carbon containing compounds only. No, carbon containing compounds only, because of they are going to produce lot of heat, lot of energy to transfer different forms. Okay, that is the main reason. Just you see the answer. Carbon burns in oxygen to form carbon dioxide gas. This reaction is highly exothermic. That is why different forms of coals are used as fuels. Okay. Exothermic reaction means, it's used to produce a heat. Okay. That's why carbon compounds are used in many cases as fuels. Move to the another question. Write an equation to show the reaction between plaster of Paris and water. Plaster of Paris and water. The formula of plaster of Paris is nothing but, or the name of the plaster of Paris is, what is that? Calcium sulfate with the half H2O. Half H2O, isn't it? Hemihydrate. Calcium sulfate hemihydrate is called as a plaster of Paris. Is called as a plaster of Paris. If it can treat with the water or react with the water, it converts gypsum. Gypsum is the calcium sulfate with the dihydrate, two water molecules. Here the only half water molecule. To convert two water molecules, there is a addition of 1.5 water molecule. Remember, reaction of plaster of Paris with the water gives gypsum. Equation also easily you will remember. Here hemihydrated half H2O. Here you have to write 2H2O as a gypsum. Understood? Then practice this type of equations 1 or 2 tries. Then you will remember. Move to the another question. Yeah. We'll see. Two wires are of same length, same radius, but one of them is of copper and the other is of iron. Which will have more resistance? Which will have more resistance, they are asking. See, we know resistance is depend on the length of the wire or radius of the wire and resistivity of the wire. So that you know, resistance is inverse directly proportional to the length of the wire or conductor and inversely proportional to the radius or the cross sectional area, isn't it? Here, here we cannot predict how the resistance is going to change with respect of length and area or length and radius because of the same, both are same. So these two parameters we are not going to use to identify the resistance. So which other parameter we have to use? What is that? To remove the proportional, we are going to keep one proportionality constant that is called as a rho. It is called as a rho. That rho is a deciding factor of the resistance in this case, not every time. Of course, the sum of the times it will be according to the situation given, you have to think. So these two we are not considering. Resistance is depend on resistivity. Ah, now which two elements are given? A copper metal and iron metal. So we know that iron has more resistance because it has more resistivity. Understood? Understood? Iron iron has more resistivity. Due to that, iron is going to show more resistivity means, you know, the property to resist the flow of current, here copper and iron, which is going to resist more flow of current, more they should resist iron, obviously, because of copper we are using everywhere in the what's that wires, no, electric wires to flow current properly. Understood? That is also the basic idea to remember. Copper everywhere we are using in the current wires, so it has a much good conductance compared to iron. Okay, think that. Now we will move to the another question. So in this manner you have to think if this type of questions will come. Move to the another one, which is internal choice for the ninth one. How much energy is given to each coulomb of charge passing through a 6-volt battery? How much energy? Okay, here you think about, there is a volt means the value potential difference is given as 6 volts, and coulomb charge is given as 1. We have the formula. What is that? Potential difference V is equal to work done by charge, isn't it? Here they are asking this. What is the work done? Work done is also is equal to the energy, right? So this is the formula to understand, to get the proper answer. Energy or total work done is equal to Q will come to this side now. So Q into V. 1 coulomb charge is given in the problem and 6 volts are given. So the answer will be 6 joules. Answer will be 6 joules. Okay. This is the answer. Next we'll move to the another question. 10th one. How is the chromosome number restored in zygote? Yes, this is also a very important thing. No, here every time after fertilization, the chromosome number is not increasing from 46 chromosomes to double of that. There is no way of doubling of chromosomes, a pair of chromosomes. Here, you can see gametes are the sex cells like a sperm cell and egg cells, always contains only 23 chromosomes, not 23 pairs of chromosomes. Generally all human beings are having 46 chromosomes. in the form of 23 pairs, in the form of 23 pairs, except one cell. What is that? In females, egg cell, in males, sperm cell. These only, the gametes or the sex cells only possess 23 chromosomes which are unpaired, that you remember, which are unpaired. Okay, this concept you remember, it is going to help you to answer many questions in this type. Okay, remember this. Look, the answer: gametes, male and female, have haploid in the sense only unpaired form, N form. There is no pairing. Haploid number of chromosomes. During fertilization, gametes fuse and forms zygote. Zygote retains diploid to a number of chromosomes like egg cell with the 23 chromosomes, sperm cell with the 23 chromosomes, both fuse and form zygote with 46 chromosomes, means 23 pairs. So the same chromosomes what the generally human beings are having are getting restored as such. Okay, understood the concept? This is the way how the chromosome number restored. Let's move to the another question. Why should a magnesium ribbon be cleaned before burning in air? Yes, this is also very important thing. Magnesium ribbon is cleaned before burning to remove the protective layer of basic magnesium carbonate from the surface of magnesium ribbon. Yes, actually uncleaned a ribbon, if you can put outside, mean exposed to air, that used to combine with some basic substances like a carbonate, form as a magnesium carbonate. Magnesium carbonate, if it forms a layer on magnesium, it cannot completely burn. Means incomplete combustion will take place. Incomplete combustion. To make complete combustion, we have to clean the magnesium ribbon. Understood? To remove the magnesium carbonate layer on the magnesium ribbon. This is the reason. One more time, read it and note it down. Go to the another question. 12th one. Why does the bulk of iron fillings stick to the ends of a bar magnet and not at its center? Yeah, it's a very good question. No? You know that when like a magnetic field diagram, whenever you draw the bar magnet, you will take and you used to draw the magnetic field lines around them, no? Around them. And here every time you used to draw at the poles many lines, isn't it? Many lines. While you are representing, one more thing, actually they didn't ask here, just I'm telling you, remember that while you are representing, you have to represent properly the poles, North Pole and South Pole. If you are representing North Pole here, the magnetic field lines are coming out from North Pole, coming out from North, okay, and merging inside. Then here also coming out, no, this is the direction. So this is the direction of magnetic field lines and it is coming out and going, okay. Then south, under the properties of magnetic field lines you have studied, always the magnetic field lines will emerge from the North Pole and merge to South Pole, okay, merge into the South Pole. Remember, here you can see the concentration of magnetic field lines are very less at the center. If you see here at poles, concentration is more, means the strength of magnet will be more at end, at poles, okay. That's why ion fillings are going to stick more at poles compared to the center. Compared to the center. Read the answer. Because at the ends, magnetic strength is maximum and at centers, magnetic strength is least. Got it? Let's move to the next question, which is the internal choice for this question. A current through a horizontal power line flows in north to south direction. What is the direction of the magnetic field? Magnetic field, number one, at a point directly below it and at a point directly above it. I know this you are going to face a little difficult, but you try to understand the concept of right hand thumb rule. If you know the right hand thumb rule, very easy to write, very easy to answer. Here you see right hand thumb rule is nothing but whenever the current is in a downward direction, magnetic field will be in a clockwise direction, that we know. Here they have given that the directions also, how the current is. You remember, you know that how to represent the directions. It is the east, west, north and south. Okay. Here in the question, just you try to understand again. They are telling that the direction of current. Current is passing from north to south. So this is the direction of current coming down. This is the direction of current, isn't it? North to south. Now you think if the current is flowing downward direction, magnetic field will be clockwise, isn't it? So magnetic field will be clockwise direction. This is easy to predict. That is okay. Now, two cases they have given. What is that? The at a point directly below it means if you can think it is a plain paper, a plain paper. The north to south, the current is flowing, then magnetic field will be in a clockwise direction. Now you think before, like when you hold a pen or pencil, whatever you hold it and put upside down, then you think, how will be the direction? First, you have to wrap the fingers from this side, from here, isn't it? From here the fingers you are wrapping this side. So first the fingers will move into the page, isn't it? Will go into the page, and when you come out of the page you are moving in this direction. First you will go in this direction, first case. When you go below the page in the sense, into the page, when you go, the direction is this side. And when you come out of the page, that time your fingers are coming out of the page and moving in this direction, isn't it? This is the first case, which is going into the page or below the plane, and this is the second case. When you are wrapping, we are bringing the fingers out of the plane. Both cases you try to understand both cases. In this case, a current is flowing from this to this, isn't it? So this is the west side and moving to east side. Then coming out of the plane, when you come out of the plane, you are moving in this direction. So from east to west, isn't it? East to west. You try to understand the concept and look the answer. The first case at a point directly below it is west to east. The magnetic field will move from west to east. It is the first case. Then the second case is point directly above the plane or above the page is east to west. Magnetic field will be east to west. Try to understand. You have to remember the directions properly and try to remember the right hand thumb rule. Easily you may answer. Got it? I hope you understood the concept. We'll move to the next question. 13th one. What will happen if mucus is not secreted by gastric glands? Yes, in our stomach, there will be a secretion of HCl, no? HCl, right? Hydrochloric acid, and even some other enzymes also. Which are those enzymes? Pepsin also, and one of the mucus also used to secrete by the walls of the stomach. We will see what will happen if mucus is not secreted. The mucus provides protection to the inner lining of the stomach from the action of the acid. If mucus is not secreted by the gastric glands, it may erode the inner lining of the stomach, resulting in ulcer and acidity. Understood? If no protective layer, what will happen? The complete acid will act on that. Our intestine, our stomach, inner lining of our stomach will get damaged. Ulcers, acidity, a lot of pain and burning sensation. These all the things are going to happen, isn't it? How nicely the mucus is providing protection for us, providing protection from this harmful acid. It's very helpful, no? Yes, this is the answer for that. Then read it and note it down. Let's move to another question. Yeah, here question number 14, 15, 16. These three questions are assertion and reasoning type questions. Already I explained in the previous sample paper also. The first option, if you are going to opt, means you are agreeing that both are correct, both are true, and reason is the correct explanation of the assertion. If you can opt B, option B, both A and R are true, but R is not correct. Correct explanation for assertion. If the C, if you can opt, A is true, but R is false. If D, you can opt, A is false, but R is true. Remember, we'll move to question and answers on this assertion and reasoning type. First, 14th question, assertion. Decomposers act as cleaning agents of environment. Reason, the decomposers recycle waste materials in hydrosphere. Decomposers is okay, cleaning agents. These are the scavengers of the earth. They used to clean the complete environment by the decomposing all the organic matter. Understood? But what about this? Decomposers are not only recycle in hydrosphere, even lithosphere also is doing. No, that's why C is the correct answer. A is a true statement, but R is a false statement. Okay, that's why C is the correct answer. Move to the internal choice for this question. Assertion, concentration of harmful chemicals is more in human beings. Reason, man is at the apex of the food chain. Of course, you know that biomagnification. Biomagnification is nothing but in introducing the chemicals into food chain. If you are introducing, means the chemicals are entering into our food chain, that concentration of chemicals will increase from one trophic level to another trophic level. That you know, 4 trophic levels we have. From trophic level, from trophic level 1 to T1, T2, T3, T4. Okay, here we are. Like a human beings are comes under category of the 4th trophic level, producers, primary consumers, secondary consumers, and tertiary consumers. Here, biomagnification leads to increase the concentration of chemicals from one trophic level to another trophic level, and at the top level, more harmful chemicals will get accumulate. Okay, that's why the statement first one is a correct, and also reason is a correct explanation for the assertion. Okay, biomagnification will get leaves the accumulation of more chemicals in higher trophic level. Understood? We'll see the next one. I hope you understood this. We'll see the next one. 15th one, assertion. The aqueous solution of glucose and alcohol do not show acidic character. Reason. Aqueous solution of glucose and alcohol do not give H plus ions. Yes. Here we know that aqueous, whatever the substance or the solution is showing the acidic character, that should produce H plus ions. Any substance which produce or furnish H plus ions in aqueous solution, those substances are called as acids, isn't it? If they are not producing, they are not showing acidic character. The same thing happened here also. Glucose and alcohol both are not producing H plus ions. They don't have ability to produce H plus ions. That's why they are not comes under category of acidic substances or acidic solutions. Okay, this is the correct explanation. H plus ions will not, even though alcohol has a H and glucose also has a many H, they are not going to produce. Here alcohol, you know that functional group of alcohol is a OH. OH. If is there possibility, alcohol may produce OH minus ions. That according to the condition, Okay, but they are not going to produce H plus ions. Answer will be A. Understood? Let's move to the another question. This is the last question under assertion and reasoning, and also in this video. Assertion is aerobic respiration requires less energy as compared to anaerobic respiration. Oh, this is somewhat like a wonder, no? Aerobic respiration, we need more, lot of energy. That's why only in the presence of oxygen continuously food is getting a breakdown and producing energy, no? This is the false. Always aerobic respiration requires more energy compared to anaerobic respiration. And mitochondria is the powerhouse of a cell. Yes, it is the powerhouse of cell because it used to produce energy in the form of ATP. In the form of ATP. Okay, option D is a correct one. A is false, but R is true. Reason is true. Okay. Yes, children, this is got over till here only in this video. And next video will be from question number 17th to 26th. Means under section A, 17, 18, 19, 20. 4 questions will be. Under section B, 6 questions will be. All are 2 marks questions. Okay. We will see in the next video. If you want really like to get practice, more and more practice, try to remember or watch the video and practice, and subscribe my channel. You will get notification for continuity of this sample paper. Okay, thank you so much all of you, and subscribe, like, share my video if you're possible. Try to do that. Thank you so much.